remember the day they laughed at me the clearest. I stood in the kitchen, clutching my tattered sketchpad, while my family mocked my dream of becoming a painter. "You think you're going to make it with that doodling nonsense?" Dad scoffed, tossing a newspaper on the table. "That's a pipe dream. You're embarrassing us all." My sister rolled her eyes, whispering, "He's wasting his life, just like he always does." They painted me as the fool, the failure destined to fall flat on my face. Every sneer, every dismissive word chipped away at my confidence. But deep down, I knew I had to leave, had to prove them wrong. So I packed my bags and headed out, with nothing but a battered portfolio and an unquenchable fire in my chest. I worked day and night, pouring every ounce of myself into my art. There were nights I cried alone, questioning if I was chasing a fantasy. But I refused to give up. Years turned into an odyssey. I moved from city to city, honing my craft, taking on small commissions I thought I'd never win. Every rejection letter fueled my resolve. I was told I'd never make it. My art was too weird, my style unmarketable. But I kept pushing, stubborn as ever. And then, the breakthrough. A big gallery saw my work and offered me a solo exhibition. Critics called my pieces raw, innovative, truth-telling. Overnight, my name started circulating. I had done what I once believed was impossible. I built a life, an empire from my passion. Shows in major galleries, collaborations with brands, a following that stretched beyond what I'd dared to dream. I was finally the artist I knew I was meant to be, but something gnawed at me. They never believed. Not truly. I knew I had to show them, not just through my success, but by coming home, not as the prodigal son, but as the man I'd fought to become. And so I returned. I drove up the familiar winding road to the house I'd once fled. Nothing had changed. The same old cracked driveway, the same porch swing swaying in the breeze. But inside, everything was different. I knocked on the door, heart pounding. My mother opened first, eyes widening as she took in the person I'd become. Her hands trembled, a mixture of shock and pride flickering across her face. My father appeared behind her, arms crossed, eyes skeptical. Then I stepped inside, clutching a canvas. I unveiled it, a massive painting I'd just finished. It was a storm, wild and chaotic, but filled with life, pain, hope. The room fell silent. "Look at this," I said, voice steady but layered with emotion. "This is me. This is what I've become." Despite your doubts, your laughter, your shame, I refused to be invisible. I refused to be a failure. They stared, stunned. My mother's eyes glistened, and my father's jaw clenched as he finally saw what I'd built from nothing. The walls that once echoed with their dismissals now echoed with my triumph. I looked at them, a quiet fire burning in my chest. Not to gloat, but to remind them, I am not what they said I'd be. I am more. I am real. And I am here. They saw their ridicule for what it was, a fear of their own limitations, a failure to believe in something beyond convention. And in that silence, I found my peace. The rejection that once broke me now only fuels the fire to keep rising. I walked out that door not as a prodigal son, but as a conqueror. I had proved them wrong, not with words, but with everything I'd created. The world now knows my name, my art, my truth. And as I drove away that day, I knew this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. Because I had returned, not just to show them what I'd become, but to remind myself, no matter how they doubted, I had the power to rise from the ashes, and I